Hi guys, guess what day it is? Yes, it is Wine Wednesday. So here I am with a bottle of wine again. It never stops. Anyway, I'm going to share this out as usual and I'm going to hopefully have some people come on. So I'm experimenting with times as I mentioned. I did 3 p.m. last week, which seemed to be popular with the Europeans. Now we'll see if we can actually get some other people on as well. So I do have just wanted to let you know where I'm sharing this. I have a page that I'm not super active on, but it's anything to do with consulting for restaurants. If you are a restaurant or know of a restaurant, one of your favorite restaurants perhaps that you would like to help put some more plant-based options on the menu. If you are plant-based or if you want to eat more plant-based, I can help with that. And I also have a group called Plant Empowered Bon Vivants. Again, this is a place where you can find some recipes, not always my recipes. They're basically just a collection of different ones. And yeah, that's really what it is. And the group is there for you if you have questions, and it's more of a private setting if you don't want to be public with questions that you might have about your lifestyle and such. So of course, now I'm on my page, Sunny Gandera. If you don't know me, I am a vegan lifestyle coach. I'm a plant-based chef and a wine educator. And I work with both private people, do coaching if you want to transition to a plant-based lifestyle. I help with plant-based nutrition, but I also first and foremost help you create wonderful, tasty meals that you can feed to everybody, including, those picky family members and relatives and friends that may be skeptical to this way of eating. Of course, on Wine Wednesdays, I also always talk about wine. I always feature organic, vegan, biodynamic wines as much as possible, of course. But more often than not, they are natural wines, basically wines that are not made with a ton of additives. Today, unfortunately, we don't really know what's in wine, in conventional wine. So this is actually my job, is to seek out those wines that I know are made with basically 2 ingredients, or actually 1 ingredient should just be made with grapes. The yeast should actually be ambient, or just naturally occurring in the vineyard. Although if they are man-made, that's not something that I'm super picky about. But essentially, looking for wine growers that are growing and farming with nature, with respect for nature, because the world needs it. The environment needs it. We cannot do any more harm to the planet. And with Earth Day just having passed this week, I hope that you had a little bit of, maybe did one thing, whether or not you're not eating 100% plant-based, or reusing everything, or plastic straws, ditching your plastic straws for, bamboo or whatever, non-plastic. I think that whatever you can do is great. So today, I wanted to talk about seasonality, because if you know me as a chef, I love cooking with the seasons. So you won't find me grilling an eggplant in December or eating fresh tomatoes in December. Much to the same sense, I don't actually eat root vegetables in the summer. So I like to switch it up, and that is because I feel like that's when food is the tastiest, it's the most nutritious, and it's also the least expensive. So it's great for your budget too. Hi Maria, what's your favorite rosé for the spring summer? Oh my gosh, that's a huge question. I actually really had a great rosé, and you'll see it on my Instagram account. It was a beautiful rosé from Germany. It is from Borel Deal. I could put it in the comments, but it is a liter bottle, and it's super inexpensive. I think I paid $14 or $15 for it, and it's a liter bottle, and it's from a grape called Saint Laurent. And I really love it because it has a little bit of spritziness to it, if you know the Vinho Verdes, and it's just really nice and fresh, and just a rosé that you can just sip on all day long. And whether you're a wine geek or snob, or you're just a novice, I think it's gonna fit everything. Of course, the Provence rosés are great, but I think that now there are so many areas in the world that, you know, create wonderful rosés. Look to Spain, where it's called Rosados. You know, there's a lot of Rioja rosés that are great. There's tons of, even here in New York, there's great rosés. There's great rosés in California. I mean, honestly, this is where you can sort of go buck wild. And it's perfect for this time of year. As we're talking about spring wines, rosé is one of my suggestions, that really go and venture outside your comfort zone for rosés. Yeah, you're welcome. Make sure you put the name in. Yes, I will. I will actually put, maybe I'll put a separate post about some of my favorite rosés. So some can be those like easy drinking, fresh fruit forward rosés, and the other ones can be a little bit more savory, a little bit more like, I actually had a wonderful rosé the other day that was kind of crazy. So I'll look through my notes and I'll put them together for you, Maria, no problem. And for everybody else, because I know rosé is really popular. So is there a thing as such as drinking seasonally? So recently, you know, in the past few years, there's been a trend with restaurants that are organized their wine lists according to season. But there's also those hardcore people that say, hey, drink rosé in the wintertime, you know, as much as, you know, they also say drink Zinfandels, heavy reds in the midst of summer. So I say drink whatever you want when you want, but the point of drinking seasonally sometimes, it can be that switching up your wine style here and there can bring some new excitement to your palate and to your dinners, to your meals. So I'm always in favor of celebrating the season with something that resembles the time. And of course, if you tend to eat seasonally, that becomes even more maybe appropriate, because the pairing might dictate what kind of wines you drink with your dish. So for instance, you may not want that light, super light Vinho Verde or Sauvignon Blanc with a heavy bean stew in January, much like you don't want a full-bodied cab with your asparagus salad in July, right? So wines for spring is really what I'm going to talk today. Maria says, wine according to seasons is a great idea. I must admit I sometimes drink red wine with fish. No worries, that you can do that. Obviously we don't drink fish here, and this my bad. No, that's fine, you know, and I totally get it, because back when I was eating animal products, you know, it was always like, oh, you should always drink white with fish and red with steak or whatever. But, you know, I think we've come a long way since then. So honestly, the best thing is to really drink whatever you enjoy with and eat whatever you enjoy. If you enjoy the pairing, isn't that the point? I mean, you know, if you don't love it and this wine critic of your town loves it, I mean, it doesn't matter for you. So I always say that when I give suggestions, it's just to give you an indication, maybe some guidance, and then maybe you want to try that specific pairing and be like, wow, I really love this. This is my new favorite combo. Or you'd be like, no, not for me. So whatever that is, it's just a matter of stepping out of your comfort zone, which brings me into this topic of spring, because spring is like, it signifies renewal, right? The start of something new. So it's time to try something new. Spring is like when you step out and, you know, if you've been curious about a grape or a certain wine, or you want to step outside of your comfort zone, like I said, and venture into a different zone of wine country, now's your chance. Renewal, enjoy the pairing. Yes, exactly. It's as simple as that, really. So, you know, talking about rosés, Maria, and for everybody else who's listening in and love rosés, you might have gone to the same Provence rosé or the same rosé every single time, right? So I know, for instance, I was a wine buyer in a wine store for a few years, and there was somebody who would come in and buy the same rosés year in and year out, and we would just have this wall of rosés. And I was always curious, like, why? Because if you love something, maybe you love the next bottle even more. So, and if you don't, oh well, you invested $15 and you can go back and buy the old one. But my point is, try a new rosé from a different country, say. Or maybe you want to do a lighter Pinot Noir or Spanish Garnacha or Austrian Zweigelt. Those are all like lighter reds, or Garnacha doesn't have to be light, but it's definitely something that can be softer and not so tannic. And a crisp white like Chacoli, which is a fun, spritzy, light wine from Spain. from the Basque region, or Verdejo, which is Spain's Sauvignon Blanc. You can try a sweeter style of Riesling. Sometimes that's really good with the spring vegetables I'm going to showcase. Or Friulano from northern Italy. It's like a wonderful white that never really gets showcased, but it's always such a great wine. I like white wine that has fruity undertones, but is not sweet. Yeah, so absolutely. So today's your day. It's I actually have Muscadet today, which can be very fruit forward if it's done well. So I will go into the flavor profile, but you know, the wines that I'm going to suggest now for you, Maria, for the spring are all going to fit in with that flavor profile. So if you're eating seasonally, which means for spring, what do we have? Of course, I'm in the northeast of the United States. So if you're in Australia and now it's winter time, it may not be, or in tropical climate, you don't really have many seasons. You're just going to eat tropical fruit and whatever all year long. But for the purpose of this is, you know, it was the 4 seasons of the northeast and in Europe as well. In the spring is asparagus, artichokes, peas, ramps, fiddlehead ferns, morel mushrooms, fava beans. They all do best with these high acid, mineral driven wines with sort of a lemon citrus flavor. So your best bet for this type of you know, vegetables, these seasonal vegetables, if you'll see them in the store now, they're looking really beautiful. Your best bet is to stick with these light to medium bodied, unoaked with fresh citrusy flavors. So my go-to, Maria, for you also, you should listen in, is Grüner Veltliner, which is, I love the ones from Austria, but they also have really good examples actually here in the Finger Lakes region of New York. Pinot Blanc from Alsace. Again, you know, that has those fruity undertones like you said, but it's not sweeted. They are dry wines. And then I would also go with perhaps a Chablis. Those can be a little steelier. I'm talking about the unoaked Chardonnays from the northern part of Burgundy. Chablis is always great with these kinds of foods. And for reds, if you were like venturing into reds, go with reds you can put a slight chill on, like Loire Valley Cabernet Franc. You know, sometimes they can be a little high on the tannins, so you want to kind of watch the tannin levels, meaning what dries out your mouth. Sometimes that can clash with asparagus and artichokes. It gets kind of that metallic taste. But if you have a sweeter, not sweeter, a softer style Cab Franc, those are really nice. And Schiava from Italy, or even a Beaujolais that you can chill a little bit, and it has really soft tannins but still high acid. Those are kind of the wines that, you know, go well with this type of food. So with spring in full effect, you know, the warm weather is here. Actually, this is going to probably be my last, unless it's pouring outside, of course, but I'm going to move my table outside. So I'm going to be streaming from outside next week. So I decided to go a little fun, casual, you know, sort of easy with wine. And wine doesn't always have to be so, oh my God, I'm getting this and that. I just want to enjoy a glass of wine. And so that's this wine today. I love Cab Franc, never thought to chill it. Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the Cab Francs from like, and of course I'm generalizing because there's so many different versions of these grape varieties and wines, but some of the Cab Francs, say for instance from California, they're very heavy and full. I find like not sort of classy. So classic, not classy. Oops, better be careful with what I say here. I don't want to offend anybody. But, you know, I would look to the Loire Valley for sure for Cab Franc. That's kind of like the home of that grape. And there's so many wonderful natural wines. So again, you know, I really recommend, if you don't know which wines are vegan, say, or if you don't, you may not even care that it's vegan, but you want a wine that doesn't have Roundup in it. Hello. You know, I'm not asking for much, right? But this really is what happens in most of these mass-produced regions and wineries. that produce millions of bottles. I mean, there's so many additives in the wines because they want that sort of consistency each vintage and the same flavor over and over again. So it becomes more of a mechanical product rather than something that nature built, which is wine. Wine is a living product in a bottle. So it's not going to taste the same every year. Might have similar flavor profiles, however, it's not going to taste exactly the same, but the way consumers have now gotten used to expecting that very same flavor, so winemakers are now going to have to be chemists, you know, in the winery instead of letting it just happen on its own. And I find much more charming product, and of course it's much better for you health wise. Many people complain about migraines or headaches because they think it's the sulfites, but I always say the sulfites is the least of your worries because that's a natural byproduct of fermentation, and you find sulfites in orange juice, in dried fruits, in chocolate, in 10 times higher amounts than in wine. But I would also, of course, drink lots of water when you're drinking wine because it is a dehydrating product. So with that said, look for natural wines. There are different varying degrees of natural wines. I'll plug myself. I do wine classes online, so you might have seen my post today. So for those of you who are not in the New York region, which is where I am, and I can do them in person too, in private homes, in rented spaces. But if you want to sort of have a wine class, I actually do them via Zoom and Skype. So all you have to do is just hook me up and we'll do it, and I'll give you recipes if you want to do a dinner party. I can be the wine speaker. You know, many people have done that and actually logged me into their TV and streamed from my phone. So, you know, in today's world, you can do everything really easily. Wine is a living product in a bottle. Yeah, it is. You know, it changes all the time. So that's why, you know, people are, you know, upset when wines change, but you know, you can't be, because it's really the way that it works. And you think about it, you don't want it to just stay completely like bread. I remember when I think I've shared this story before, but when I first came to the United States from Norway and I saw those breads in these plastic bags sitting on the shelf out, not even in the fridge, I was like, how can they stay good and they never went bad? You know, you have to wonder what the hell is in these breads that just keeps it, you know. And when you make your own bread, I mean, they go moldy after a few days if they sit on the counter, right? So again, it's really about being conscious about what you put in your body, and it's not always preferable to be convenient, because you may suffer health-wise accordingly. And not to go, you know, sort of anal about it, but just keep it in mind, you know, what is actually in the bottle. And you don't know, because in the back there's no requirement to put ingredients in the label, on the label for wine. So you have to really do your own research. Or you can come to Wine Wednesday, ask me questions, and I'll do your research for you. That's my job. So what am I drinking today? So this is actually Joe Landron is the producer, and he has a wine, his basic Muscadet called La Louveterie, and it's 2017, and this is from the Muscadet region in the Loire Valley, one of my favorite wine regions in the whole wide world. The different varieties of wine in this region is astounding. So many different styles. Of course, they have Sauvignon Blanc, they have Chenin Blanc, they have Cab Franc, Gamay, so many different styles, but always really beautiful wines. And this is a guy who farms with his wife, and he specializes in Muscadet, which is also the synonym for the grape variety Melon de Bourgogne. So that's actually the grape variety. And this is, so let's go into what is Muscadet. Do you know Muscadet, Maria? Have you had Muscadet before? Not to be confused with Muscat. Muscadet is actually a very dry wine. Muscat, you know, Moscato in Italian, it can be very sweet, right? There's also dry Muscat, of course, that's really nice as well, but it's not sweet. This is one of France's commodity wines, and it's bone dry, typically light-bodied, high acid, has that citrusy taste, with really just pronounced minerality. And I see that there's even like a little spritz. I'm just gonna taste it because I see little bubbles. So it's very food friendly because of its high acid, and it has these saline, salty quality because it's by this area is by where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Loire Valley. So you have these like ocean breezes, and they think that that imparts some salinity to the vines. Whether that's, you know, just sounds romantic or is true or not, I'm not quite sure, but it definitely has this salty saline, is that what it's called? Saline? Is that how you pronounce it? Qualities in it. So Muscadet arrived in the 17th century in France. Someone's outside, of course, my dog's. Oh, you haven't had it, Maria. Okay, great. So yeah, definitely go try it out. I'm going to talk to you about what kind of styles you want to look for, or, you know, what you can expect to pay for these. But it's very frost resistant grape. So it was initially used for distillation for spirits, and it's known for not being very flavorful, the grape, but now there's so many winemakers who are doing amazing things, and there are some really serious muscadets, but most of them are made to just be drunk right away, which is what we do anyway. 96% of wines bought in the United States, I think, is actually consumed on the very same day. So you can see how, you know, impatient we are as customers and wine drinkers. So the appellation Muscadet et Sèvres Émen is the largest and most important appellation for high quality Muscadet, and that's where this guy is from. And if you want to taste, if you haven't tasted it, Maria or anybody else, it's kind of similar. It can be sort of similar sometimes to Pinot Blanc, Picpoul, which is a grape in the south of France, or even unoaked Chardonnays, like I mentioned, Chablis, right? So the Muscadet region, as I said, it's in the western Loire Valley, and it extends mainly southeast of Nantes, near the mouth of the Loire. And the wines here are only made from Melon de Bourgogne, which is, like I said, a pretty neutral grape variety. Very excited. Oh, great. Thanks, Maria. Yes, let me know what you find. You know, what kind of muscadets you find. There can be, I mean, I actually rarely had a bad muscadet, to be honest. They're really refreshing and just easy drinking and lower in alcohol. So this one is about 12%. So that means that, you know, again, with a lower alcohol, it's more food friendly. It lets the food shine versus like you drink one glass and you're like, oh, I gotta go to bed. You know, that's not fun. Especially in the summer when it's hot, you don't want it to be too high in alcohol. So these wines are very minerally, like I said, and this is a little spritzy even, but it's not bubbly at all. It just has that sort of texture, and it's aged, typically muscadets are aged sur lie. So if you guys want a technical term, wine term, it's on the lees is what it means, sur lie, S-U-R-L-I-E, which is French for on the lees. To increase, the purpose of doing that is to increase the flavors and textures in the wine. Lees, if you're wondering what that is, it's made of dead yeast cells, membranes of the pulp, the stems, and the skin fragments, and insoluble salts and macromolecules basically deposited during the making and the aging of the wine. And most of that happens after fermentation. And this aging on the lees makes the wine much creamier and richer in texture, because otherwise it's very lean and sort of light. So again, you know, with a little bit of salinity, it's a really great combination. So Melon de Bourgogne, or Muscadet, is rarely grown outside of the Muscadet region, although you can find a little bit in Washington and Oregon, and some exciting stuff happening with that as well. So for a basic good Muscadet, I would expect to pay somewhere between $14 and $16. This, I think, was 14 or 15. And for a more serious Muscadet, the ones that have been aged on the lees for like 2 to 3 years and are really much more rich, you can expect to pay between 20 and 25. It's really the perfect wine. I'm just imagining myself sitting by the seaside, whether it's by the bay or on the beach or on a terrace, in a restaurant by the ocean. It's just such a great wine. And this John Landron La Voutrie Muscadet, it's 100% Muscadet. It's actually quite dark now, but it does have some age. It's 2 years old, so this is, you know, made for drinking now. Definitely has that, you know, green apples, pear, lemon, lime. Lots of lime in this one. There's even some floral aromas, even a little bit tropical. Very vibrant, very refreshing, minerally. Stony finish. This is also certified organic and biodynamic. and it's bottled without fining after 6 to 12 months, which means it's vegan as well. Can you spell the name of that wine so I can ask for it today at the store? Yes. So La Louvetrie. So it's Louvetrie. And the producer is J.O. Landron. Landron. As soon as I log off, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to try to see if I can actually do it now. So I can, let's see if I can actually just mute myself, and I'll put it in now. And if they don't have it, Maria, maybe ask your store if they can special order it for you, because sometimes they do. La Louvetrie, Joe Landron. Because many people do work with you, and if you are obviously a good customer, they will oblige. Today's wine, Muscadet. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so that should be in the comment now, Maria. Yes, I see myself. So try that. If you don't find that something that's similar, but just ask them for something from the Muscadet Sèvres et Maine region, which most Muscadets, I believe, that are imported are from that region. It's the biggest, like I said, most important region. And so finally, for a food suggestion, of course, I mentioned all these vegetables you find during the spring. I would definitely try any salads with zesty vinaigrettes or lemon-based dressings. You know, maybe you have a Buddha bowl with like a really like high-acid lemon dressing. It's great with French fries. Not the healthiest, but it's it's my guilty pleasure, Muscadet and French fries. What part of the world is that? So Muscadet is in the Loire Valley in France, in northern France. Loire Valley is not very far from Paris, actually. East of there. It's the first region I ever went to, along with Champagne. It was the first wine region I visited back in 1993, I believe, when I first started studying wine after my 1 year in Rome, and I got completely enamored with wine and food in a totally different way than we are in Scandinavia, where we basically, back in the day, just used to eat because we needed to fuel our bodies, not because we enjoyed it and sat and talked for hours on end. So that was my very special relationship to the Loire Valley because of that, I think. But it's just so many exciting things happening in that region, especially when it comes to natural wines and people who are sort of reclaiming nature and trying to give back to nature by farming responsibly. So I really appreciate that about them. So other wine suggestions, food pairing suggestions other than French fries, I would say Jerusalem artichokes soup. You know, I don't know if that's necessarily super, that's usually sometimes you find that in the winter, but a creamier soup that can be made in a lighter way, that's really good with it too. Spring onions, summer squash, you can drink this of course all summer long, not just in the spring. Zucchini and corn, those lighter style, like maybe a succotash of some sort with fresh herbs like basil. And I like to use it in creamy sauces when I make creamy sauces. And yes, I can make creamy sauces on a vegan diet. I just make it from the same way we really do make beurre blanc. Say I use vegan butter and flour, and sometimes I add in some pureed cashew cream, and it's creamy. I also love it with a sort of lemony lentil Middle Eastern stew, or even vegetable sushi. So the options are endless here. Again, like I said, it's lighter. So if you have a lighter meal with high acidity or dressing, perfect for that. Of course, you know, we don't, this was very known for drinking the Muscadet with the mussels and the oysters and all that. But since they are sentient beings, I do not eat that anymore. But that's kind of what you'll see is the classic pair in the average food and wine world. But there are many, many wonderful alternatives to that doesn't cause any harm. So I definitely recommend all those food wine pairings that I suggested in just now. Any other questions, Maria, about anything? It can be about this, it can be about wine in general. You know, I'm always happy to ask, and for those answer any questions you have. No questions are silly or stupid. I realize sometimes wine can be an intimidating topic and you don't know where to start, but honestly, most people I know, they like a glass of wine, but you know, they'll basically resort to just something tried and true and safe. And my goal is for you to sort of, you know, try something new that might open up your eyes and be like, wow, that was like such an amazing experience. Kind of when you're trying a new dish and you have all these new flavors and textures and you're like, your whole world just opens to you. That's kind of what happens with wine. And it should give you pleasure. It should give you something to think about most of the time, but other times, you know, it's just fun to drink. The Loire Valley is in France, Maria. Northern part. So basically central northern, I would say. Central France, technically. Really good. So if you haven't been to the Loire Valley, go. It's beautiful and you're gonna have such a fun time. It really is great. You can fly into Paris and you can just drive to the actually there's Champagne is very close too, so what you can do is just go to Loire and go to Champagne and your world will be complete. I mean, honestly, those are some of the best French regions. I believe we drove down, I don't know how long it takes, not very long. So I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions. Thank you, Sunny. We'll let you know what I find and how it tastes. Thanks, Maria. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If I don't see any other comments, I'm going to log off for now. But please share this video. I'm going to also upload it onto my YouTube channel and probably post the link on my social media channels. Share if you would like to know more about wine. If you'd like to, I also have an online course that's, I believe, $79 that has all the info you could ever want about wine. It's in 12 modules. I haven't really promoted it very much, but I'll put a link on there as well if you want to get that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, what I wanted to say. So drink seasonally, try Muscadet, and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, Maria. Thanks for all your questions and for all your replay viewers. Thank you for watching too. Bye.